Hello everybody, it's Mystic and welcome back to my library. This is another episode of Our Life Beginnings and Always, and we are now a teenager. So this is the very first day of our teenage life. I haven't played anything yet, just kind of went through like the introduction and how my relationship is going with Cove and my sister and all of that stuff. So let's get started. We haven't moved on to the moments yet, but I assume we will be doing that at some point in this episode. It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was as hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. To be more specific, you were snuggled up in bed, celebrating your time off by sleeping in, wide awake, about to head out to enjoy your time off. I love sleeping in. I don't get to do it all that often because I'm a mom, but when I get a chance to sleep in, it is amazing. It was hot, but you still had the blanket up over your head to block out the sun. You didn't want it intruding on your lazy morning. Unfortunately, you hadn't prepared for an intrusion. From beneath the blanket, you heard the door creak open. Oh my gosh, look at Lizzie! Or, I'm sorry, she doesn't go by Lizzie anymore. She goes by Elizabeth. How dare I? But look at her! You're still sleeping? Wow. Get up. Go away. You pretended to still be asleep. You got up. You started fake snoring loudly. Morning. I'm gonna do this one. You didn't get out of bed instead made some obnoxiously loud and totally phony sleeping sounds. It was pretty annoying, but she had bothered you first. Ugh, not funny. Get up now. I will come over there. So much for a lazy morning. Mom told me to tell you that your friend's at the door. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him, say thanks or whatever.
Come on.
So come down already. Be right there. Okay, fine. Really? That's great. I'm coming. I'll be there when I'm there. Be right there. Elizabeth said nothing else and left, having done what was instructed of her. You rolled out of bed, stretching your arms up high and yawning. Time to get ready. You sat yourself in front of the mirror in the far corner of your room. Your reflection hardly even fit in the frame. You're very tall. Oh, no, I'm absolutely not very tall. Your reflection went over the whole length of the mirror. You're pretty tall. Your reflection fit comfortably in the frame. There was a lot of open real estate in the frame. You're pretty short. Now, as a teenager, especially as a 13-year-old, I actually was tall for my age, but then I, stopped growing. However, I'm pretty, as an adult, I'm only 5'3", so I'm not that tall. I'm gonna just say pretty short. You could relate to Derek and how it felt to be smaller than people thought you ought to be. Your shortness seemed even more drastic when compared to Cove, who was unusually tall. You liked your height. You weren't sure how you felt about it. You were kind of self-conscious. No, I don't care. I don't mind being short. It suited you well in your mind. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation. Careless as they had been, Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You planned on going over to see what Cove was up to, so this worked in your favor. Your reflection grinned back at you. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left your room, taking an easy time down the stairs. Step 2. Second chance. You spotted Mom first reclining on the couch. She held a magazine in her hands, which she was perusing through. Morning, Mom. She looked up at your greeting, a smile instantly appearing on her face. Thanks. Oh, she changed her hair! That's actually, literally how I go through my life in a messy bun. That is me every day. I am Mom, and I am Mom. Good morning, Christina. Thank you for coming down. Ma's at the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go over and thank him before he leaves? You nod and made your way to the front of the house. Just as she said, Ma was there making conversation. She must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder.
Oh?
Oh, she colored her hair! I love it. It's like a purplish. It really suits her. Look who finally made it. Morning, sleepyhead. Ma reached forward and you knew she was about to pat you on the head. She was taller than average for an adult woman, so at your height, you were absolutely tiny in her eyes. You let her do it. You happily let her do it. You tilted your body aside to dodge. I wouldn't push her back. Although pushing her back and laughing, I probably would do. I wouldn't be rude about it. I'll just let her do it. You stood by patiently and indulged your ma's wishes. She gave you 2 small taps on the crown of your head. Ah, you're the last one down today, you know that? Life isn't a race. Good morning. I was going to stay in longer, so you're welcome. Sorry about the wait. Uh-huh. What did we get? Let's see. I'm just gonna say morning. That's all? You really are a sleepyhead right now. With a small laugh, Ma stepped aside. Cove was just as you remembered, exactly how you came to know him to be. Oh my goodness! Look at him, he got so big! Is that like a fruit bouquet? Because that's so... Why are you so cute? Cove, you're so cute. He leaned uncomfortably to the side of the doorway as the longer strands of his hair idly drifted in the breeze. His features were pinched in embarrassment, and he shifted from one foot to the other. He was holding what must be that much talked about gift. At first glance, you figured it must be a bouquet of flowers, then you gave it a real look. No, instead it was carefully cut fruit. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You had to suppress a laugh at this showing. You couldn't imagine many folks buying that sort of thing for their own personal enjoyment. That kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. It seemed no matter how long he lived here, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove would always be roped into participating. Cove smiled slightly at the sight of you. The sting of his goofy errand was clearly embarrassed to be uneased. What? He was clearly embarrassed to be uneased. Oh, never mind. Hang on. Let's redo that. The sting of this goofy errand, he was clearly embarrassed to be uneased. There we go. I got it. Hey, Christina. You earnestly grinned back. It wasn't weird at all, like it used to be when you were kids. As time passed, the 2 of you started to enjoy each other's company. Now you actually considered him a good friend, and not someone you were forced to be around by your families. Hey, it's really nice to see you. Yeah, you too. And you were certain he meant that agreement. It was already shaping up to be another long summer with plenty of time for the 2 of you to have fun together. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back in, so Cove nudged the gift closer to you. He was ready to be relieved of it. And with that, the gift was accepted. Oh my gosh, I still can't get over him! Look at him! I hope you and your family like this. It's a pretty good gift. I think so anyway. He smiled earnestly. Dad spent a lot of time picking out the best size and design. There were so many options to choose from. Thank you. Thanks. You're too cute sometimes. I'm not quite ready to do the flirting thing yet. Thanks. Thank you. Could you tell your dad we loved the gift? Yeah. Mr. Holden's behavior really was different from any neighbor you'd ever had, though after 5 years, you were used to his antics, and you'd since made up your mind on what your opinion was. He was nice. He was sort of funny. He was weird. You didn't like him. He was great. He was great and kind of handsome to boot. I mean, he kind of is, but I'm going to go with he was great. Though there were some things people didn't like about Mr. Holden, you didn't mind them and liked him quite a bit. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are! You shared a look of confusion with Cove. As one, both of you stepped through the open door into the neighborhood street. It didn't take long to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek just a few yards down the road. He ran up to you. Who the heck is Derek? Wait, I think the intro explained who Derek is. Isn't he a friend from school? I'm gonna just say happy. I don't know that I mind him yet. Derek was certainly a welcome guest in the neighborhood. It was a pleasant surprise whenever he showed up. Oh yeah, it's a kid. After stopping a couple steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. Then he looked up with a wide grin.
Hey.
Hey, guy and gal. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there. Should have figured you'd be at Christina's place. Do you ever spend time in your own home, or are you always just there? Derek laughed at his own joke, and he either didn't notice that it embarrassed Cove, or that the embarrassment was what he actually was laughing at. Derek turned to you. He was going to say more when his eyes widened and he gasped. What's that? You followed his gaze unsure, then you realized what he meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. It's kind of like a bouquet of flowers, but made out of fruit.
Nice.
Nice. Can I have some? Sure, we can share. I haven't tried any yet. It's a gift for my family. Maybe you can have some later. I don't care if you have some. Derek grew more excited by your words, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Awesome! Then he nodded his head as if to clear it. Anyway, that's right. I came here because I needed to say something big. He paused, possibly for effect. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Cove was surprised as you by the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they were cutting through. Nuh-uh, the new kid was all by himself, just walking. Did you talk to him? Nope, I came to report the sighting right away. The kid had green hair, glasses, was pretty small, and seemed really upset about something. I hope he didn't leave. You blinked. Slowly, you looked over your longtime neighbor. That sounds a lot like you, Cove. When you first got here, anyway. It kinda does, doesn't it? That's weird. He sounded almost fond, a small smile playing on his lips. Derek snickered good-naturedly. I can see that really well, now that you say so. But what did you say? What do you say? Let's go find Cove's lookalike. We should all meet him.
Sure.
I'll do it. Sure, I want to see who this person is. Derek grinned, then he pointed down the street the way he came. Last I saw him, the mysterious visitor was going in this direction. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you were off with Derek leading the way. Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio, you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of the sun. He scuffled around, kicking up the sand as he paced. It was true, he certainly seemed upset, but you didn't think he was sad like you had originally pictured. No, with his erratic movements and scrunched up expression, he came off angry. You started to have doubts about this expedition. Maybe it'd be better if you left him alone and let him sort himself out. Derek didn't feel the same. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy. Hey guy, over here! The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl carving deeper onto his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong, hostile energy still radiated from him.
What?
What? What is it? What do you want? The sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. What's your name? Jeremy. Was that it?
No.
No, I'm Derek. That's Christina, and that's Cove. We were just walking around and saw you. We wanted to say hi. There aren't a lot of kids our age in the neighborhood. Yeah, so, it's cool to see someone else here. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by your response. If steam could erupt from a person's ears, it would have happened then. They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course, I knew it. What?
My parents.
My parents. They're the ones who brought me. I didn't walk to this town. Can you not figure that out on your own?
Right.
Right? My dad brings me to Sunset Bird too, when he has to come for work and all that stuff. It's not bad. That earned him a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced beneath it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation probably either. That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time. A chore. My parents' family is nearby, and we just had to come see them. Ugh. If they're your parents' family, doesn't that make them your family too?
I guess.
Oh boy, this kid. That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else? No. Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff. He turned away. They should have gone by themselves since they cared so much and left me home, but I'm not allowed to be by myself. Pfft. It makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything, and I'm the kid? You kept quiet. You shouldn't talk about your parents like that. Sorry, it must suck being forced to do something you don't want. We just said hello. You don't have to keep complaining at us. Calm down. You don't have to yell so much. Who peed in your cereal this morning? I honestly would not say anything. I would just keep quiet because this is a little much for me. You had no idea what to say to this, so you stayed silent. Jeremy didn't even notice, too focused on ranting. How do they always make summer vacation worse every year? You turned to Cove, lowering your voice. The two of you aren't that similar after all. Jerry must have had good hearing, though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed.
Stupid.
Of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid. Wow, kid. Cove's cheeks flushed crimson at the insult. You couldn't be sure if it was out of embarrassment or anger. Maybe both. Come on. What? No, Cove's wavy eyebrows are so cool. How can you say that when you've got a bowl cut? Don't listen to him. They're really unique and special. They are kind of silly. Apologize to Cove right now. You can't treat people like that. I mean, Cove's my friend, and this kid's a little jerk, so we're gonna go with this one. Cove smiled weakly. Okay, I'm sorry your eyebrows are so terrible. Oh, this kid. You just rolled your eyes, you crossed your arms over your chest, you shook your head, you patted Cove on the shoulder, you lunged toward Jeremy. Absolutely not, wouldn't do that. You grinned at all of this. I'm gonna cross my arms. You were getting really tired of this. Wow, what is wrong with you? Instead of taking offense, Jeremy only parroted Derek's words in a nasally voice.
Wow, what is wrong with you?
Wow. This is dumb. All right, bye then. Jeremy stuck out his tongue and skulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go, hunched over until he became a speck in your vision. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what just happened. I can't believe it. What a mean kid. Derek wasn't kidding, and by the sound of those earlier complaints, the new boy Jeremy was going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. Derek sighed in dismay, plopping onto the ground. You followed, and Cove did too shortly after. There wasn't much else to do.
This sucks.
I was hoping we could meet someone fun. Hang out, maybe. He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you with a hopeful expression. But, you know what could really improve the day? What? He didn't respond. Instead, he used a hand to point, right at the fruit arrangement that you were still holding. You'd completely forgotten about it during the mini-drama that unfolded. You had gotten used to the wait. Glancing over to Cove, you noticed he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Oh, why not? Let's eat it. Derek perked up immediately at your words. He reached out for his skewer, hesitating slightly once he was inches away.
Are you sure?
You nodded. With an eager grin, he plucked out a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after him. Only you were without a skewer of your own. Pineapple, grape, strawberry, or melon. I'll take pineapple. That sounds good. The pineapple cut was cut to look like a flower. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate a pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments. This is amazing.
It's nice.
It tastes pretty nice, and this fruit kebab thing is fun. Hey, you two remember The Land Before Time? Oh my god! Excuse me, Land Before Time reference? Hello? I love that movie. That fruit thing makes me think of it. The dinosaurs all liked the leaves that were shaped like stars. Yeah, they were called tree stars. Yeah, tree stars. Exactly, Cove.
Yeah.
Yeah, chomping leaves looked so delicious when they did it. And there was that scene with the pretty trees and all the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off them till there was nothing. That's us right now. Awesome. I love that movie. I love that movie. Of course I have to say that. Me too. The three of you continued like this for the next few minutes. Eventually, the display was barren. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. Hey, we weren't supposed to eat all of it. It did help to make you feel better. Okay, we'll go with that one. Derek was right. It was good you were already brightening. It was so good you were already brightening up from the earlier drama. Hey, Christina. Yeah. The two of your eyes met casually. That was pretty cool what you said back at that guy. Oh, thanks. I was just saying what I thought. Derek chimed in while in high spirits. You totally owned him. I don't know what his parents say, but it's good at least somebody is around to tell him what's what. Yeah. Derek then leaned back on his arms. He contemplated the sky with a content sigh. So, are you both ready for summer break? Yeah. No, I'm not sure. Are you? Yeah. Cool on you. Wish I could say the same. It feels like there's a lot to plan for.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Cove? Are you ready? Yes. Before you could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered.
Hey!
Hey, Christina! You glance over your shoulder to see your sister. She strode closer and closer, appearing none too pleased. I've been looking all over for you. Mont said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden brought for us. She leered over you with folded arms. So, where is it? Well, it's gone. What do you mean, gone? You moved over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which was now populated exclusively with skewers dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. Her mouth dropped open and the tone of her voice rose.
What?
Seriously, Christina, what were you thinking? It was supposed to be for all of us at home. She glanced at Cove, who sat behind you, and continued mockingly. Even if you did have an in with the delivery boy, this was up to Mr. Holden. Cove gave you a bent smile of support, which didn't help disprove her accusation. Sorry, get over it. Well, the morning's been kind of a disaster. We were hungry. It wasn't us. A seagull came and ate it all while we weren't looking. I'll just say sorry. Elizabeth narrowed her eyes, not at all placated. Oh no, I think I hear the mean kid coming back. We better get out of here. Oh boy, let's sick Elizabeth on him. Elizabeth blinked, confused, and looked around.
What?
What kid? I don't see anyone. Derek didn't bother explaining. He just launched to his feet and ran off. Cove hopped up too, gladly taking the opportunity to exit the situation. He followed after Derek, but he sent a look to you from over his shoulder. You turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared back, brow raised. You ran, you stayed. I mean, I kind of want to see what Elizabeth is going to do, but I also don't want to deal with that turd again, so let's go. Without a word, you two got up off your feet and bolted down the beach. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes.
So immature.
She shook her head as she walked towards the house, not bothering whatsoever to follow. Meanwhile, the three of you made it back to the shoreline. Derek pumped his fist, grinning in triumph. We escaped and shall live to see another day. Exactly, but we should keep moving. Yeah, for now at least. Victory! My moms are going to be so mad when Elizabeth tells this story. Yeah, I actually am kind of worried about that. Oh well. You chuckled together, walking further down the beach side by side. You definitely wanted to stay outside a little while longer. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. You had gotten a bit of a scolding from your moms for not saving any of Mr. Holden's gift for Elizabeth, but you didn't get any real punishment for it. Instead, while you were out with the boys, Elizabeth returned home to share the news. The three of them went to get dessert on their own. It was declared even by your parents when everyone got back and the event was settled. That was a while ago now. Your fingers drummed on the surface as you waited, your gaze trained on the phone. You were waiting on a call tonight, specifically from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. And a while back, though, they'd moved and were closer to you than ever before. You hung out regularly. With school being out, you're positive she's going to want to come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Elizabeth, too, but now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to be just you and Lee who spent time together. She was your only friend who was a girl. Being family helped make you close. Honestly, I had a few, I kind of was fairly equal as a kid, but I tended to be better friends with the boys, so yeah. You weren't all that close with any other girls your age. But you had plenty of other friends. But you didn't really have a lot of other friends either, although this was totally me. I didn't have a lot of friends. Ma always said that quality was more important than quantity when Elizabeth bemoaned your small social circle. You weren't sure how friendship quality was judged, but nevertheless, you thought that what you had with Lee was good. Then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Lee, finally! Who is it? Library residence, Christina speaking. Hello? Hi, Christina, it's Lee. Oh, she's so cute. I'm glad it's you. For a second there, I thought it might be one of Elizabeth's friends. There was static on the end, as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. So can you believe school's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now, we don't have to do any of that boring stuff, and we get to hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out, Lee, can you wait a second? Just let me head to my room.
Oh, yeah.
You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Your mom's had a rule about not moving the phone unless a call was in progress, which is why you'd been sat by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. Your mom's could be really unfair. You thought this made sense, and you didn't like it, but it had to be that way. It makes sense. You don't want to lose it. It was nice to keep everything in its proper place. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You made your way up the stairs, smiling. After you had arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you. You took a seat on your bed. All right, I'm here. Cool. Hey, did you know the girl down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone. She doesn't have to wait for someone else to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you. Right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. I wish they'd change their mind. We could call each other every single day and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? Really great. We could even stay up late talking about whatever we want. Lee sighed thoughtfully into the receiver. At least they said I could have it someday. I can't wait. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not going to get one until I'm all the way in college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and ear, you puffed up your pillows and made yourself more comfy. It was strange to think of a time when normal school would be over and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to a college. School was such a big part of your life right now. Studying didn't come easily to you, though you tried hard. You worked about it as hard as most people and got pretty average results as well. You never tried much, but you still didn't do that bad. You didn't bother at all, and your grades reflected that. Everything in your classes came easily. You worked hard for excellent grades. I mean, okay, so I studied, but I wasn't like a whiz at stuff. I would say this is pretty much the case for me. The only one that ever gave me trouble was math. It still does. Whenever I help my kids with their math homework, I feel like I feel like I'm struggling. But yeah, we're gonna go with this one. You guessed that was reasonable enough. You felt a lot of pressure to get higher grades than you did last year. You hoped to do just as well this year, but it wouldn't be a big deal if they dropped some. You were confident your grades would remain great. You had no plans on getting excellent scores this time around. It's kind of between these two. I'm going to just go with this one. Grades weren't the most important thing, no matter how good or bad they ended up being. Yeah. You tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled.
What's up?
You sound so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. I'm looking forward to going back. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. It's so awful. I hate going. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. Yeah, everybody in class would sign it. Maybe some of the teachers too. Though I guess school isn't all that bad. You can do some good things there. You can do more when school's out. Learning new things can be cool. Gym is pretty great. Nope, gym was not my favorite. It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. The cafeteria lunches at my school could be better than they had any right to be. There's nothing good about my school. Learning new things can be cool, especially things like science and social studies. Those were my big favorites. Reading, obviously. I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught the things, not just some people.
Me too.
The easiest... Wait, I have to keep... Oh, that was all. And that's pretty much everything that's good about my school. Okay, point taken.
All right.
Now, I decree the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about this summer first, before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans already. Ooh, tell me. I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head. I want to spend time with people. I've got some new art supplies. Reading! Oh, absolutely. Let me know if you read anything good, unless it's scary or sad. Sure. You lean back, and by the way, reading is absolutely something I did every summer. Like, I would have a whole pile of books that, like, weren't required reading for school that I could just read through and enjoy it, and it was great. You leaned back in your bed, settling in, as you continued chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her, and you'd be seeing her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day. You sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? Creepy, mean, weird, kind of interesting. Mean. He kept snapping when all we were trying to do was talk to him. He just kept being rude to everyone. But especially Cove. It was awful. Oh, I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Who are you to talk? Cove and Derek are always around. They're both boys, you know. That's true. That's not the same. They are not always around. I'm not the one who invites them. They show up on their own. At the moment, that's not the same. Lee laughed at your rejection of the idea, deeply amused. Even though she couldn't see, you shook your head at her, grinning to yourself. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face.
Come on.
How long are you going to hog the phone? Glancing at your watch, you realized that your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lodged on her hip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. Gotta go, I'll see you soon, okay? With a sigh, you said goodbye to Lee. Sorry for being long. I'm still using it. No, get out of my room. I'll just do this one.
Bye.
Okay, see you. Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi too. You'd barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Your ma's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it. With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside, and you laid in bed wide awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over at it with furrowed brows. From your vantage point, you saw only the moon and an open sky. You were scared, confused, annoyed, curious. I'm going to say confused. I don't think I would necessarily be scared, especially since it's my own house. What had caused that noise? Frowning, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You might as well find the reason behind the disturbance. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yep, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so it theoretically wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because somebody could didn't mean you expected it to ever happen. Cove looked awkward and unstable. His feet were braced against a section of the wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort to keep him upright. With difficulty, he waved. Then he wobbled, immediately dropping his hand in alarm. You hurriedly opened the window. Cove scrambled? What? Scrambled inside, nearly falling flat on his face, but he was able to right himself in the end. He released a breath once he was steady.
Hey.
Hey, Christina. What are you doing? What's up, Romeo? This sure is a surprise, but you're always welcome here. Is everything okay? You're lucky I didn't start screaming. Amazing! My dreams have come true. Is everything okay? I don't think I'm okay. I know it's late, but I didn't know what else to do. If I rang the doorbell, I know your moms would have answered, and they just make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I'm coming over anyway. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, I mean. But that's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched Cove felt he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Cove had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation? You shouldn't have done that. Eavesdropping is bad. I would have done that too. I'm not going to comment, honestly. I'm just going to let him talk. There were other things to talk about. Are you going to stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened, varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out he was leaving and you missed seeing him those weeks, you understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me this year. He said she could come stay with us here. You waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation abruptly dropped off. You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. What did your mom say? She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon, before school starts. Oh. You had heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone and another to actually meet them. Very soon, you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you could only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing around your room, his features pained with dread. Before, they'd barely stayed in the same room long enough to have lunch. Now we're going to all be together again. The three of us, after all this time. Just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out, and now I feel really bad for feeling this way.
Christina.
Oh, he said my name again. It's so... His fist tightened and his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already, and I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. That is hard to deal with. We can deal with this. I'm sorry, Cove. You know I'm here for you. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad about this. The tense line of Cove's shoulders eased. Thanks. That makes me feel a little better. Like I'm not freaking out for no reason. A momentary silence fell over you two. You marveled at how the day started. You had woken up eager for summer vacation, but now things seemed so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the newest addition to the neighborhood being so rude, and as if that wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated and hard and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Christina? The sound of your name said quietly pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you, concerned.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm okay. You meant it. You didn't mean it. No, I'm not. I don't know. Who me? I'm worried about you. I'm going to say this one. You don't have to forget about yourself for me. I want to listen to you too. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. He had come here, conflicted and upset, only to end up worrying about you. He really was a great friend. You know, I think I don't want to talk anymore about this. He looked away, his lips thinning into a line, and rubbed at his arms. But I kind of don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him away? You can stay tonight, but we shouldn't make a habit of this. I've got a flashlight and some cards. You in? How about... I think this one. Of course, you can always stay here, Cove. You held his gaze confidently, hoping your words got across to him. Cove perked up at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. You felt a little better at the sight somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was here. And not just tonight. You were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you'd never want to undo. Who would have thought that Cove would mean so much to you? You certainly hadn't, not in the beginning. You had kept your distance, and so had he. Now you considered him to be one of your closest friends. Aww. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what had happened and what's about to happen. You smiled gently, put a hand on his shoulder, patted his back, hugged him, took his hand in yours, nudged him with your foot. I'm going to give him a hug. You moved closer and wrapped your short arms around him as much as you could. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact helped, even a little. Cove froze up, startled. After a moment, his arms came up and he returned your hug. The two of you remained like that for some time. He might have mumbled something to you, but it was too quiet to hear what it was. When you pulled back, his expression had softened into something more natural. Conversation was stilted and broken often by silence at first. Then both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped a day would never come when life decided that the two of you would have to part ways, and you knew Cove felt the same. You opened your tired eyes, groaning as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through your window and warming your peachy skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearing the sleep from your eyes, before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't remember even falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, and the two of you had spent some time together trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger on exactly when you'd wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day, or stay snuggled up for a little while longer, until your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, and you bolted upright and gasped in surprise. He never left! He was still there, in the morning! Cove! You laughed out loud, you jumped out of bed, you froze. I'm gonna say this one. He had fallen asleep while sitting on the ground and precariously leaning his head on the side of your mattress. With your shout, Cove's eyes snapped open and his head slipped from its source of support. He didn't stop going down until he smacked right into the floor with a crack. Oh no. You clamped your hand over your mouth and looked down at him with wide eyes, curled up where he had landed rather ungracefully.
Aww.
Ow. You laughed quietly, you laughed loudly. Are you okay? Are you okay? You winced at his tumble, hoping no one else in the house heard either of your outbursts. Yeah, I'm alright. Cove rubbed at his forehead a little, and you weren't sure that was entirely true. If either of your moms found out that Cove had slept here last night, the two of you would be in big trouble. Cove blinked at you a couple of times, his eyes growing in panic as some thought that only he could hear settled in his mind. Oh my god, I fell asleep. You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace around your room, looking around frantically. Cove's hands flew to his face, letting out a sigh of relief when he found his glasses right where they were supposed to be. Despite that, he hadn't actually calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. It's gonna be alright. We're gonna be in so much trouble. Just calm down. Settle down before moms hear you. You didn't say anything. I'm gonna say this one. Cove nodded, his shoulders tensed as he fixed you with a firm stare with his turquoise eyes. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair in exasperation. He couldn't look at you again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all of this played out, but hoped that was true. Right. Bye, Cove. At that, you were suddenly wrapped up in a tense embrace. As panicked as he was, this seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Thanks. Again. You're a good friend, Christina. He firmly whispered the words into the top of your shoulder. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he had climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair and filling your room with its salty scent. Cove anxiously stepped out onto the ledge. You wished him luck. You rallied him to keep going. I wished him luck. Good luck. Be super careful. You weren't sure if he heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other with increasing speed until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as it would go to keep trying to watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down the top of the garage, then lowered himself onto the fence. From there, he finally dropped down onto the ground. You threw out a thumbs up at his successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit, you were pretty impressed at how doable he made that look. With a little sigh, you reclosed your window, deciding there was nothing more you could do. You hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. Put on your slippers, checked yourself in the mirror, made your bed, you just left. I will make my bed. It was a habit of yours. You straightened up your sheets, smoothed over to your comforter, and fluffed your pillows before stepping back and admiring your work. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face in a look of innocence. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had to play it cool. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked you over immediately, her eyes squinting at the greeting.
Why?
Why are you being so weird? You hadn't even done anything. Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. You turned and offered a tight smile, and her lips pursed even tighter together. Christina. You shrugged it off. You clammed up. Wouldn't you like to know? Sorry. You excitedly blurted it out. You folded. I feel like Elizabeth would kind of be a blabbermouth to the parents. And I mean, I know Cove didn't do anything and we didn't do anything. We were just hanging out. But if the moms are going to be upset, let's just shrug it off. I'm not. You spoke so nonchalantly you thought she almost believed you. But you knew better. Further suspicious squinting occurred as she waited for something. But ultimately, she rolled her eyes, and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. Whatever. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today, you were extra glad for it, though you were also grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you had gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from the breakfast they made. Hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were even a few sausage links. I will take a little bit of everything. It was tasty. You appreciated that there was a variety in the meals your moms made. The day lazily drifted by at home, and eventually your parents returned. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of iced cold water and taking a long drink. It was a perfect, balmy summer afternoon, and you had decided to head outdoors and find something to do. You hadn't decided what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. As you were heading out the door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he had left that morning, and you couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over to his house right now or to call him to check in? You stepped out of your house, still stuck in an internal debate with yourself, when a voice caught your attention. Hi, Christina. Confused, you looked over to where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you, a friendly smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory for where you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not your school, or from the country club your moms took you to. You had absolutely no idea who the woman was. The woman crossed the road towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back into the house and lock the door. Oh, this has got to be Cove's mom. Oops, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? You shook your head, and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes, and all of a sudden, she seemed a little more familiar. My son lives here, and my ex, too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point at the condo across the street from your house. She was Cove's mom! You didn't know why you hadn't realized it sooner, now that you'd gotten a good look at her. She seemed nice. She seemed strange. She looked really young. It made sense that she was Cove's mom. She felt so different to Cove. She was super pretty. I mean, yes, she looks young, but to me, that's kind of typical. I don't know. Let's see. I'm just gonna say she seems nice. Like, I don't really know much about her right now. Her attitude was friendly, and it seemed like she was genuinely happy to meet you. No matter your thoughts on her, you still felt taken aback when she had appeared so suddenly. Cove mentioned she was coming, but you hadn't gotten the impression it would be the very next day. She extended a hand again, this time for you to take, and you studied the manicured fingers in front of your face and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from her wrist. I'm Kyra Priest. You can call me Kyra. You shook her hand. You reached out and took her hand, and she shook yours firmly, grinning wide. I'm Christina, but you already know that.
That I do.
Cove's mentioned you to me before. It's nice to officially meet you, Christina. Cove talked to you about his mom. He hadn't mentioned how he said things to you about her, or about you to her. What has Cove said about me? What are you doing here? Nice to meet you too. I'm just gonna be nice for now. She smiled fondly at you, her eyes crinkling at the corners. The sound of a door opening and closing caught both of your attentions, and when you turned towards the sound, it was to find Cove exiting his house, his eyes skimming the ground. Considering just how tall he had grown, you kind of figured his mom also would have been tall, but she was much more on the short side for an adult anyway. Cove's height must have come from his father.
My baby.
There you are. I thought you were going to keep me standing out here all day. You tried to catch Cove's eye as he walked towards you, but his gaze was firmly fixed on the sidewalk. When he finally crossed the road and looked up, he gave you a pitiful look. After the way he had acted last night, you knew he must be feeling pretty mixed up about this. You tried to wordlessly express that you understood. Cove and I are heading out into town to grab something to eat while the snore is at work. The snore? Is that what she calls his dad? Kyra beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. You assumed the snore she was talking about was Mr. Holden. Hey, you should come with us, Christina. I'd love to get to know you better. Yeah, you should come. There was pleading in his tone that you couldn't miss. Of course, we'll run it by your parents first, responsibility and all that.
Any hoosies.
It'll give me an excuse to meet them, which I need to do at some point. It's important to be neighborly if I'm going to be roosting on this street for the time being. Any hoosies, let's go. Kyra walked towards your house, and you hung back with Cove, who crinkled his nose as he watched her.
Sorry.
I'm sorry about her, but I really do want you to come. I don't want it to be just the two of us. Not right now. You leaned in closer and whispered while checking around for anyone who might hear. What happened? Did your dad know you were gone? Cove shook his head and sighed heavily. Dad was so focused on Mom showing up that he didn't even notice. I thought when I heard them on the phone that night that it was something they were planning for the future. This morning, Dad said it was supposed to be a surprise, and I guess I was surprised. She's going to be here all summer. Oh, you were surprised to hear that, too. Cove sighed again, even heavier. I'll go with you if you really want me to. He smiled, his shoulders relaxing a little in relief. Thanks, that'd be cool. The two of you headed over to where Cove's mom had just knocked on your front door and stood behind her. Mom answered the door after a minute, her eyebrows lifting in surprise at the group she found in front of her. You realized that she, like you, would have no idea it was Cove's mom who was hanging with you. However, after blinking at the woman a couple of times and looking between her and Cove, the realization seemed to strike on her. Hello there, I'm Pamela.
I see.
I see you've met my kid Christina, and I'm guessing you've known Cove for a while. Kyra laughed, and you and Cove exchanged looks at your parents' weird sense of humor. I'm Kyra Priest, Cove's mom. It's nice to meet you. A head of purple-brown hair caught your eyes as Mom popped up behind Mom, squeezing herself in beside her. We have company! I was wondering what all that commotion was. She grinned excitedly at Kyra. The two of them introduced themselves and shook hands.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Christina. Cove. Cove smiled at Ma shyly, and she gestured a hand towards the living room. There's no use hanging around in the doorway. Why don't you come in? I'd love to, but I promised to take my son out to eat, and I wouldn't want to hold you up with a surprise visit. I understand. You're welcome to stop by any time.
Of course.
I'll take you up on that offer when I can. Count on it. Would you mind too much if Christina went with Cove and I? My treat. We won't be driving, just a quick walk down the road. Sure, that sounds nice.
Have fun.
I hope you all have fun. You gave your moms a look, and they smiled at you fondly. You were happy they were letting you go. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Cove wants me to be there, so it's fine. You could tell that Cove really needed the support, and you were ready to be there for him.
Marvelous.
Marvelous. Expect us back in an hour or two. We look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Your parents waved goodbye to the three of you as you backed up onto the street. There was the sound of the front door closing behind you. I'm pretty positive I saw some restaurants when I was in the taxi not too far from here. Yeah, there's a lot of them around. The answer was straightforward, and Cove's tone was curt. Cove was usually more lighthearted than that. Kyra put her hands on her hips and smiled at her son. Well, you sound like the area expert. Do you have any recommendations for a place nearby? Not really. Kyra pouted at him a little and turned to you instead. How about you, Christina? Want to point me in the right direction? Sure. We have some places we go. I'll nod. You've been to a lot of places in town, so you know a couple of good ones. There's a Chinese restaurant that me and my family go to all the time. It's my mom's favorite. There's also a tropical themed place that tries to be sort of fancy. Both sound like a treat. I'll leave it to you to pick for us, since Cove is going through a phase over there. Oh my god. He huffed at her and turned his face away. I've actually been craving Chinese food for the last couple of days, so we're gonna go with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Will you show us the way? You nodded, taking the lead of your little group as Cove and his mom followed behind you. Together, the three of you left the neighborhood behind. The walk was about 15 minutes, and along the way, Kyra asked a lot of questions about the area. Cove was quiet most of the time, so you ended up answering her instead. Kyra explained that she lived in a large city, and she loved how peaceful and relaxing everything seemed in Sunset Bird. The restaurant was busy as usual, but luckily you were shown right to a small table. Kyra lowered herself into the chair, while Cove picked the one diagonal to her, not facing her or to her side. It was awkward. Let's see. To start, what would you all like to drink? I'll get an orange soda.
Hey.
Christina? Just water for me, please. I don't drink soda. Lemon or anything? There's sugar on the table. I'll take a lemon, sure. Kyra placed the order for your drinks, getting a black, hello, I cannot read, a black hot coffee for herself, and it didn't take long before they were brought to the table and set in front of you. You took a long sip of your drink as you looked around the restaurant. Your small group checked over the menus, and you decided to order your usual thing. You had been to this restaurant many times, so you knew what was good and what wasn't already. Kyra and Cove didn't need any encouragement for this. They were totally focused on the information in front of them. Soon the meals too were ordered and the menus taken away. You glanced at the table surface, waiting to figure out what to say. Cove sunk back further into his seat and avoided eye contact. He started to twiddle his thumbs while acting like all this was perfectly normal. His sour feelings today were unignorable. Instead of asking more open questions he'd brushed off, Kyra had mercy on her son and instead put her focus towards you. So, Christina, what's a few things that you're into? There's got to be something you do for fun, especially now that you're not buried in school assignments. Holy moly. I'm really into Cove. I like to read. Obviously, I do like to play games. I wonder if I'm going to get a chance to say more than one. Because obviously, this is the one I'm going to go with. Oh, nonfiction, poetry, fiction novels, of course. Me too. Nothing beats curling up with a new book, or a good book. Honestly, that's really it. I do sometimes read nonfiction, but as much as I've been wanting to get into manga, I haven't had the chance lately. So I'm just going to say fiction. And, I do like to go to the beach I can read a book on the beach. Look, I'm really boring, okay? Games are fun. I like to play video games. I don't know much about them. Maybe you could show me sometime. And I go to the beach and not read? Rude. I'm just gonna say walk along the shore. That's a nice way to relax. I hope to be able to spend some time on the shore while I'm here myself. I mean, that's pretty much it for me with the beach, because there was no option to read. I still spend time studying. I like to watch, hang out, sports, no sports, spend time on art. Yeah, honestly, that's pretty much me. I am boring. Thanks. I'm happy to learn more about you. There's so much I hadn't heard. If Cove leaves the details out. So what exactly did Cove say about me? Kyra laughed, holding a hand in front of her mouth. I can't tell you that. I didn't come all this way to embarrass my son. Too much. Kids are delicate at this age. She laughed again and glanced at Cove to see his reaction. I really like this shirt that she's got on. Like it's a tank top, but she's got like this kind of see-through tropical looking thing. I like it. He was trying not to pay attention, but you could tell he was uncomfortable. Hoping it would clear some of the tension in the air, you decided to ask Kyra a few questions of your own. Cove hadn't told you much about her, and you were curious to know more about this woman who was such a big part of his life. What exactly do you do for work? I'm a travel writer for magazines and things. I keep people in the loop on what's worth seeing. It's good work. That actually sounds really fun. Wow. Oh no, that's too personal. What do you like to do? Spend time with my little boy, of course, and traveling. A real shock, huh? Where do you live normally? Nevada. Have you ever been there? You shook your head. It's a beautiful place. Check it out if you can. I am not going to ask these other two questions, not in front of Cove, and honestly, it's really none of my business either. It didn't seem to bother her that the conversation dropped off. Cove sipped his soda angrily, slurping up the remaining drink with furrowed brows. He looked ready to run straight out of the restaurant. You weren't sure if coming along had ended up making the lunch better or worse. You made a silly face at him, you smiled at him, you gave him a sympathetic look, you flicked his straw wrapper at him, you left him alone. I'm just gonna smile at him. Cove eventually noticed you watching him. It took a couple of moments, but finally he cracked a smile, and that made you feel a little lighter inside.
Very cute.
You two seem really cute together. Cove covered his face with his hands and leaned back in his seat.
Seriously?
Mom, why would you say that? You felt bothered too. You blushed. Thanks, we are cute. You just laughed. I'm blushing. The way she said that had embarrassed you. You weren't prepared to have Cove's own mother describe that normal interactions the two of you had as cute. Your meals were delivered shortly after that, and everything was so delicious, even Cove enjoyed his food.
Okay.
Alright, now that we're all full and content, can you please explain why you've had a bug up your butt all day? Oh my god. Cove's face scrunched at that. Seriously, baby, what did Mom do to make you this mad? I haven't even been around a full day yet. He gripped the edge of the table, refusing to make eye contact. The words he spoke were barely audible over the din of the restaurant. You could have told me. She leaned forward to not miss anything else, brows raised. Told you what? He finally seemed to find his voice and spoke the thoughts that had been on his mind. That I wasn't going to visit you this year, that you were going to be coming here instead. Didn't you invite me? You wanted me to be here with you. Cove's eyes began to shake and his frustration ebbed. I do want you around, but I didn't know it'd be like this. It's not the same and nobody said anything.
I see.
Oh, was Mr. Holden, buddy, you gotta stop doing this. Her expression grew tense. She threaded her fingers together and placed her hand in front of her on the table. We've both been gifted another Clifford surprise. Referring to that as a Clifford surprise almost caused both you and Cove to crack a smile. You had no idea his name wasn't just Cliff. Over 5 years, nobody has ever called him Clifford until now. She smoothed her hair out, not letting go of her stern look. The more things change, the more they stay the same. They let out identical sighs, but smiled weakly at one another afterwards.
I'm sorry.
I can go home, Cove. We can still set up a normal trip to my place before the summer ends. Cove's lips tightly closed together. He seriously pondered the option. I think I do want you to stay. I miss you when you're not there. My heart. She reached across the gap, grabbed his face, and planted a kiss on his cheek. Cove tried to wiggle away. Mom, stop! I'm sorry. Sweet young men need to be smooshed by their parents. If I don't, then they'll take me away with my mom license. I say that to my kids too. Oh my gosh, I'm really liking her. Kyra was completely enthused by Cove's admission, though a tone of seriousness did return to her voice when the conversation continued. Do you want to talk to your dad too?
No.
Cove had snapped the word instantly, but reeled his annoyance back in just as quickly. Maybe later. Not today.
It's all right.
I understand. We can shelve it. Thanks, Mom. Thank you for talking to me, little mister. She grinned affectionately at him before turning your way. And thank you, Christina. Huh? What did I do? It's easy to act like a baby with your mom. It's harder to keep that up with your neighbor watching everything. Especially when you really care about what said neighbor thinks of you. She winked. Mom! She just ruffled his hair with a laugh, then moved her hand down to tap the end of his nose. And that was how the issue was resolved, at least between Cove and his mom. When the three of you left the restaurant and Kyra had paid the bill, you walked back to your neighborhood slowly. You had eaten so much by that time that you were beginning to feel sleepy. It didn't help that lunch had happened late and the sun was already beginning to descend from the sky. Whoa, he's changed too! But eventually you reached your street. Someone was there to greet your group upon arrival. Welcome back, family, and Christina too.
Huh.
Cliff. Dad. The two walked past him into the condo without sparing another word. Despite the summer heat, their shoulders were cold. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. He rubbed the back of his neck with a crooked smile, but his eyes were soft as he looked on after them. He's so much like his mom, don't you think? You gave a vague nod, not sure what he was expecting you to do. He nodded back, far more energetically. Okay, have a nice night, Christina. You too, Mr. Holden. With that, Cove's dad disappeared to join the others inside. It was your turn to go home now. Summer hadn't started off at all how you imagined it would have, though it turned out to set the tone well. Having Kyra in the neighborhood was a new experience for not only you and Cove, but also for both of your families, and a dull moment was rarely had. Okay, so that is going to be the end of this episode. That was actually a lot. I was not expecting the intro to be that long, but I can't really remember how the first one was. So anyway, that was really cool though. I actually really like Kyra. I'm curious to get to know her a little bit more. I'm curious about that kid Jeremy from before too and what his deal is, and I'm curious if the cousin is going to come visit. So yeah, teenager life is going to be very interesting. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye.